Okay, everyone, I am going to go ahead and get started on the session Introduction to First LEGO League Judging. I am Callie Carbajal. I am your Regional Judge Advisor and Judging Coordinator for Central California. Let's see, perfect. What is First LEGO League Judging? So First LEGO League Judging is a huge part of your competition day. First LEGO League is absolutely not just robots. Admittedly, a huge part of it and a lot of the draw for the program. However, First LEGO League gives your students develops a lot more skills than just the robot, and judging gives a way so that in every part of the First LEGO League competition, whether it's robot design, project, or core values, that every team gets judged the same way. Also, core values, as some of you might know, is a little bit, you can't really put a number scale or a set of things to necessarily look at in a team, so judging provides a subjective way to assess a team's skills. I highly stress to all of the judges in our region that any feedback that your teams will get should be positive and constructive. Let's keep on going. Judging sessions. So there's 3 different judging sessions for the 3 different parts of First LEGO League. Let me pop them all up on there. So brief overview, the 3 parts, the first one being project judging. At a qualifier, every judging session is 10 minutes long, and then there's a 5-minute break in between. So for project, the session is a 5-minute presentation. Very important, please remember that the setup time, so whatever your student's project is, the setup time is included in the 5 minutes. So as soon as they walk through that door, the timer is on. Now, if the judges notice that, yes, you hit the 5-minute part, but your students are just about done, they'll let the students finish. However, if it doesn't look like they're going to stop anytime soon, they will stop your students from continuing the presentation. It does need to be 5 minutes, so please rehearse that ahead of time and not just on the event day. Core values judging, again, 10 minutes. It's a 5-minute teamwork activity, and of course that does have an absolute 5-minute hard stop. The team will get an explanation from the judges of what the activity is, and that is included in the 5 minutes. So I try to stress to the judges, keep that quick, they usually do, and then the students will get to perform an activity. The activity is usually different between every qualifier and of course at the championship. And then the 5 minutes after that is again another question and answer session that the judges will have with the kids. Then the last one is a robot design judging session. It's basically just 10 minutes of question and answer. Now, when the judges ask students questions, that might including demonstrating a mission model with their robot. So to this judging session, your students should bring the robot. And they might need to be performing some missions now. That judging session is very loose, it's very go with the flow. However, if your students really have a mission that they want to demonstrate, they can make that clear to the judges. It's a very free-form session, and of course the students should be showing off their skills and what they really worked on. I might be saying this again, but it's important enough that I'm going to reiterate this multiple times to everybody. But it is important that coaches do not get involved in any of the judging sessions. I cannot stress that enough. Coaches, if all of you are coaches or mentors, you should not be interacting with the judges at all. Even so, say in a robot design or a project session, when you are physically bringing things in, it really should be the students holding and setting up their own project. We're a little bit loose on that if it could be something, for some reason, dangerous or extremely difficult for the students to carry into their session. However, this early in the season, we would recommend don't have anything in your project demonstration that is going to be difficult like that to carry, especially if you have younger students. So we're a little more lenient, but during a session, coaches, you should not be interacting with your students at all. No cues, no nothing. and do not be asking anything of the judges or interacting with them. Of course, you can say thank you or hello. We don't mind that. But besides that, hands off, this is the kids' show. This program is very much by the students, for the students, and you all are very important on guiding them there. But that event day is the show, and they should be demonstrating that this was all them. Let's keep on going. Oh yes, block judging sessions. So the way in our region how we do judging is, once you're assigned a judging block, at one time you will hit all 3 judging sessions in one go. So it's not going to be, go to project judging, then you'll have a robot game. No, you will hit all 3 judging sessions at one time. Also, depending on the venue, I can't guarantee that judging will be anywhere close to your pits. So when your team packs up to go to judging, bring the robot, bring anything that attaches to your robot, bring the project, whatever goes along with your project demonstration, bring everything. Because your students might not have time to run back and get that in between sessions. Also, something I want to add, probably talk about it again later, but it's important enough, and I forgot it, what was I going to say? I talked no coach involvement. What was the other thing I was going to, it'll come back to me at some point. I've probably put it in here as a bullet point. Also, something that's optional, thank you, Stephen, for bringing it up, is it's an option to have a core values poster that is not mandatory in our region. You can do it. It's a great way to explain to the core values judges the core values that the team implemented inside of FIRST and outside of FIRST. So that's something I stress to teams. Have your students think about how they're using the core values outside of robotics. So you could bring that to your session. I will let my judges know that you guys might have a core values poster and that you are allowed to present it to them if you so wish. We don't really have teams do that in our region, but it's a great way to disseminate information to the judges. Also, in robot design, it is an option to do the robot design executive summary. Again, not required in our region, but an option, and that's a great way to kind of let the judges know, what's going on with your robot. Also, I forget the exact name of it. Is are they just calling judge profiles? That's what we call them, right? Judging profiles. I highly recommend that every team fills out a judging profile. It is optional, but please fill it. Even if it's just the bare bones of information, it is on my CVR. It's an option to fill out, but we print all of those out and give them to all of our judges. And that is a great way. It has a picture of your robot, of your team names, background about your team, because the judges see many teams throughout a long event day. And as stellar as each individual team is, once they've been sitting in those chairs and they see however many teams over the course of that many hours, sometimes it's hard to remember the one you saw at 9 o'clock in the morning. So if you do submit those judging profiles, the judges love them because it allows them to remember your team at the end of the day. Like, oh, it was that, they dressed up like that. Those were their team shirts. That was the background about them. That was really neat. So yes, it might take a little of your time, but I beg you to please fill those out. The judges love them. Yes? You would think that because I was a judge at World Festival, that I would remember that. But his question was, in our region, we don't do core values poster or robot design executive summary. If you make it to the World Festival in Houston, is it required? I think the core values poster is. Actually, I was a core values judge. I want to say it is. I cannot for the life of me remember whether the robot design executive summary is. However, a lot of teams in our region do fill out the executive summary, And I do highly recommend filling that out just because so much information happens in the robot design session that's only 10 minutes, that if you can leave the judges with that summary, that would be awesome. I would have to look that up online, unfortunately. I apologize, but I think the core values poster is. Plus, they're just great ways of disseminating information, so I recommend them. So I went into this a little bit already, but project, of course, focuses on the research project. What it is it gives a subjective way for students to outline how they did their research, how innovative their solution is, and the depth of sharing. I'll go into project a little bit deeper later because there's so much involved, but that's the quick overview. Again, core values, we get a teamwork activity, and perhaps the core values poster helps with this, how they implemented core values in their day-to-day life and inside of robotics. Core values permeates every single part of First LEGO League. So it's not just this one judging session. If on the event day, the adults from your team, whether it's parents, coaches, or mentors, and students, must all act and carry themselves with core values during that event day. We take into consideration the actions of any adults and students. Also, we expect our volunteers, of course, to have core values as well, but just letting you all know, we do take all of that into consideration. And then, again, robot design, each room will have a game table. Now, we don't guarantee that that robot game table or robot design judging table inside of the judging room, we don't guarantee that it is absolutely to spec of a robot game table. So the judges do keep into consideration that there could be fluctuation between the actual certified game table and what is ever in their judging room. They won't necessarily ding teams for, say, they guarantee, we can perform it on the robot game tables. It's just not working here. They do keep that into consideration that things could be off a little bit. However, it would be taken into consideration that if your team did have sensors on a robot or a way of aligning things or performing missions that took field variance into account, that would be a plus. So we're not going to ding you on it, but it would be a good idea to keep that into consideration. So again, and that one focuses on the design and strategy of the team's robot. Now I'm going to go a little bit into this year's season. Of course, I highly recommend everybody reads the challenge themselves. But of course, we have the 3 parts: identify a problem, design a solution, and share with others. Those are the 3 very important parts of any research project. And if your team's research project does not have all 3 parts, they will not be eligible for certain awards at the end of the day. So you must have all 3 parts. Now, as judges, we're not wanting anybody to be disqualified or fail. That defeats the whole point. We want everybody to have a good time. So we do really grasp at straws for everybody to see if they did all 3 of those parts. So I recommend making it very clear to that panel of judges that your students have identified a problem, designed an innovative solution, and have shared it with others. You must have all 3 parts. The event day does not count as sharing with others. You cannot set up a booth at the event and share it with students there. It must be done prior to the event day. And then, I can go back. Okay, so of course this year hydrodynamics focuses on the human water cycle. And that would be, I actually have it pulled up right here. It's a little later, but it is, what are the 4 parts? Yes, Project Challenge is to improve the way people find, transport, use, or dispose of water. It must be how humans interact with the water cycle. I will go into specific updates in just a little bit to help clarify that. And of course, I will have Q&A at the end, and you can ask as many questions as you guys all want, but it must involve humans. Oh, this is right. I'll put it right here. Oh, speaking of challenge updates, they are all right here. Update number 1, I'm pretty sure on event day they dropped like 3 updates to the project. So I'm going to go over those, and again, keep your questions and please ask me any sorts of questions at the end. Not limited to the study of fresh water. It could be fresh water, brackish water, or salt water. The problem, however, does need to be of the human water cycle. I explained what the human water cycle was and clearly demonstrate how water is used to meet that human need. The next 2, and I don't know, they release it like that. We'll just go with it. Narrowing your focus. Your team does not have to investigate all parts of the human water cycle for the research project. You can focus on one or more. You could do all, by all means. But as long as it's part of that, you're good. And then clarification of human use of water. This one is specific to sea level rise. You can do sea level rise as long as it relates to, again, a problem in the human water cycle. That is absolutely something I'll be stressing to the judges. If it in any way relates to the human water cycle, you're good. And then just a couple days ago, they released the 4th project challenge update. Probably with recent events in America, or actually all over the world, the flooding that is going on currently. They explain how flooding can relate. You guys probably have the drill. If you can link the flood to human water usage and humans' use in the water cycle, then it's fine. The flood itself does not, if it's the natural flood does not qualify. You cannot just study that for your project. However, if the flood affects part of how humans interact with the water cycle, then it's fine. But stress that, because if I just have a project all on floods and in no way how it affects a human use of water, that would be a ding during the project, research project portion of it. Ooh, perfect. Some important project reminders. Went over it again a little bit. You'll only be eligible for project awards if you can identify a problem that meets the criteria, explain the innovative solution, of course, and describe how they share with others prior to the tournament. Here we go. This is what I meant to say earlier. Of course, all teams must present live. You can use media equipment if available, but you can't just pre-record the whole presentation and show it. It needs to be live. However, I cannot guarantee that at every venue you will have media use available. In fact, especially a lot of schools don't want people touching their projectors and different media equipment. So keep that in mind. You can use computers by all means, but keep in mind that we do not guarantee internet connection at every venue. And different uses of their media equipment, we can't guarantee. So keep that in mind. This is the key one I want to stress, is that all team members must be present in every judging session. To me, that's only natural, because every student should be involved in every part of First LEGO League. So yes, you might have one lead robot designer, but everybody should have their hands on at least a small part of that robot, or giving opinions on a small part of that robot. So everybody, or at least also everybody, should know about their own robot. So the judges should be able to ask anyone a question, and it's, even if it's a deflection of, well, actually, I worked on this part of the robot, the person who designed that is XYZ. That's fine, but you can't just, in the past there have been people or students that just sit out of a session and have told me, well, I didn't work on that. No, please, you must be present. That said, if say, you're an 8-student team, however many team members you have, and if somebody gets grievously sick on the event day or has something come up, that is absolutely, it's not fine, because I hope they'll be better, but it isn't fine in terms of judging. If up front, if a judge comes to me and goes, well, their whole team wasn't present, because the judges look, and they come and tell me if they're not all present. And if I go to the team and I'm like, what happened? Where are all of your team members? And if they say, oh, they're sick, they weren't able to be here, or family emergency came up, they can't be here. If they did not start the event day out with us, if they just didn't come because they weren't able to make it, that's fine. Or if they get ill halfway through the day and have to leave, that is fine. But you just can't sit out because you want to. That will be different types of disqualifications. So please have every student know a little bit about every portion of it. Even if you have a couple lead project people, everybody should be present. That is huge. And then, yes, of course, set up and complete the presentation in 5 minutes or less with no adult help. I went over that a little bit earlier. Cool. So now I'm going to go over a little bit. The judging rubrics are the cornerstone of how judges run their judging sessions. So let me put that up here. So there is a rubric for every type of judging session. So core values, project, and robot design all have their own rubrics. The judges will be aiming their questions to your team members off of their rubrics. So they're trying to fill out these rubrics for all of your teams. And they will be asking questions that allow them to directly fill out portions of their rubric. There is no numbers. There is no scale like that to rate teams. It is all subjective. However, everybody gets the same training, of course. So they aim to fill these out. So if you as coaches and mentors want to read this and make sure your students are able to answer every part of the rubric, that would be awesome, because they have these sitting out at every judging session, and they do fill these out. This is where the positive, constructive comments will be filled out in every section by every judge, and you will get these back. So we scan these all online, and you can go into my CVR and receive them after your event day for those positive, constructive comments. Especially important if you want to be a team next year and you need to know how to improve, or if you're going to the championship and you want to know how to improve. We don't discuss anything. So once we have judging deliberations, I will go into in a little bit, you get these back from the judges. This is the only feedback that you receive. We don't talk about judging at any other time after that. So this is what you guys will have to improve. So I do highly stress to judges that this is how your teams are improving, and that they really should build this out to the best of their ability. So these are very important. Not that you guys have to worry about them as much. These are more for judges to give to you after, but again, they aim their questions at these rubrics directly. The project judging rubric is different this year. So the robot design and the core values rubrics are the same as they were last year. However, this year, the project judging rubric has gone through 2 changes, 2 different updates. So I will go over those for you. So the first big overhaul, a couple weeks or months ago, I can't quite remember, is that the project rubric now dropped a section. So now every judging rubric is 9 sections. They collapsed 1. And I'm going to go over quickly a little bit on what they did. They increased focus on processes used in STEM. Sources of information reflects the need for quality sources and a wide variety of sources. So if you want an accomplished or an exemplary level circled on your rubric, you need to go to a topic expert directly that relates to whatever your project is doing, or your students do, of course. Just in case I'm sure a lot of you guys are actually rookie coaches, you can't really see, I don't know if you guys can read that well. Of course, they're on our website and on First's website if you would like to see these in better detail later. There are no numbers, like I mentioned, so basically everything is rated off of beginning, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. There is no halvesies, there is no in between. Judges will circle one of the 4 to rate the team on how they're doing. That's part of the feedback that you will all get. So if you want accomplished or exemplary now, the change is that you need to have a quality source. Now, problem analysis, which is again another part of the rubric, Review existing solutions has been eliminated as a separate area for evaluation. And then that'll come into play a little bit lower down here. When teams describing their team solution, they are now expected to describe how it solves the problem. I would assume that teams did this in the past, but now it's just, definitely on the rubric. And then solution development criteria encompasses the implementation criteria. Teams should explain the processes they use to develop, select, evaluate, test, and improve the solution. Again, if you want the accomplished or exemplary levels, you either need to include some type of evaluation, testing, or other data analysis to get accomplished. And if your team wants exemplary, do that and evaluate cost, ease of manufacturing, or other development factors in a systematic way to get exemplary. This is just stressing that your team needs to go above and beyond to really get the good scores on that rubric for that new solution development criteria. That means we really want teams to make sure that teams are creative and they can think of anything to be a solution. We absolutely don't want to stomp on that. But to get accomplished or exemplary, we really want your teams to think out, how can this be applied in real life? The ease of implementation, how efficient it would be to use it, is it cost effective? You don't have to think of those things, but if you want to do well, your team should. Yes, and then of course there was another change they made like 2 days ago, and I had to dig it out on the first website. So they emailed us out that they changed it. They didn't say why they changed it. So all I know is that they did edit the sharing section on the rubric. There we go. That's they didn't necessarily tell us why, but they changed it. So look at that. And again, sharing is very important, as we all know. Then the last one we have is the robot design judging rubric. Similar to all the other rubrics, has the 4 beginning, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. And if you guys have more rubric questions, feel free to ask me at the end. I do just highly recommend, at least as an adult on your team, just read through it and really know what the judges are expecting out of the teams. I have a quick thing on judging philosophy. I've gone over this though already. This is subjective rather than objective. There is no numbers, nothing like that. It's based on the observations and deliberation of the judges. And I will go into the deliberation process in just this next slide. So step 1, I'm actually just gonna lay them all out on here for you guys, and then I will go into it. I have a couple different steps. So first we start out, of course, beginning of the day, we have our judging sessions. As the judging sessions go on, actively the judges are ranking the teams that they see in their room. So after every new team, rank, rank, rank as it goes throughout the day. Then after we've seen all of your teams, we all come together in the judge delib room and enter room rankings into judging light. And then we sort by an overall ranking, and it's kind of like a golf score. So you have first place all the way to, like 12 or however many teams the judges have seen. And we rank them all like that, and then the first thing after all of the room rankings have been entered, we have the overall score. We use those overall scores to guide the Champions Award delib process, to pick for that. So to be eligible for the Champions Award, right off the bat, the team has to be in the top 40% of robot game rankings. That is very important. You could be the best team in all 3 judging areas. But if you're not in the top 40% of robot game rankings, you are not eligible to receive Champions Award, which would be an absolute bummer, and I guarantee you it has happened before. So we discussed Champions Award, which is, so it's not a guarantee, so even if there's a team that is the number 1 on overall ranking, there's nothing saying the judges have to pick that team. It's just a guide saying they were the highest. Do you all like that? Yes?
What's the standard for choosing? Is it including the
No, yeah, I absolutely feel that. It bugs a lot of judges too. But it is completely subjective. That is, yes? To the judges. So they use the rubrics, yeah, to kind of guide, and typically the overall score usually really is what we go with. You want to say something?
Yeah. I was just going to say that more often than not, if a team gets one in all rooms, they're most likely going to get it. But there are other factors. If a coach sees another coach handling a robot or yelling at a kid or doing something that's breaking the core values, that puts them in a place where the judging or the judges, we bring that to the judges' attention, and it's up to the judges to whether or not that affects how they felt about the team. Because the team could be polished and super good in the room, but if outside of the room they're not following the core values or demonstrating that same level of polish, they may or may not get it.
Absolutely.
If I finish first and I'm not chosen and there's some, something comes up and it's like, what do I have as a coach to go, wait, that's not fair?
Well, the thing is, so I'm talking about, what I just mentioned was the overall ranking of every team at a venue. That is not public. You as coaches will not see anything that goes on the deliberations room until we get to the awards ceremony. So you really won't know if you're first and if that wasn't fair or not, because we do keep that in deliberations. The judges go through extensive training to be able to identify teams, to be able to fill out their rubrics, to know what to look for and to know what, the good behavior that we want versus the bad. Most likely, in most cases at a qualifier and at the championship, if that overall ranking shows you're number one, usually the judges all go, yeah, that team was fantastic, we want them. It would have to be a situation like outside of a judging room, there was coach involvement that a volunteer or a different coach saw that perhaps the judges didn't, or if, if there were basically usually core values issues outside of the room that the judges didn't see, that we might have to bring to their attention. That would really be the situation. Yes?
I was going to bring that up.
True. That's good. Exactly. So, like I mentioned, we have the judging blocks, and so there's not necessarily like two judges that see all 24 teams. We split them up because there's just not enough time in the event day. So in both tracks, there could be, you got two judging tracks, and in every room, Team A was ranked 111, Team B is ranked 111. Well, what do? They have the same overall ranking. So that's when those sort of subjective discussions come into play of, well, how were their core values outside of the room? A tiebreaker eventually could be robot performance on the fields. That's only if it's absolutely necessary. I like the subjective judging better, feedback from the judges to do that sort of thing. Yes. That's a really good point. I absolutely understand. I'm going to start out with nothing that's in judging deliberations leaves judging deliberations. I'm just detailing this out so that you guys all know what does go on in there. It never leaves until we hand out awards at the end. However, if something did happen at the event day where something happens, usually, I mean, if I'm at your qualifier, it'll be me or it'll be the qualifier judge advisor that's there. We will, before anything happens, if we think something might have come up, we will go and talk to your students directly and investigate. Because that's exactly, you're right, we don't want that to happen. So I guarantee we investigate. We will go to your students, not you until we really have to. We will go to your students and talk about what happened, what went wrong. You think you're a stellar, we know you're a stellar team, but what happened here? Now, again, like you were saying, that's a great point that yes, publicly released are the robot game scores. Those are released. But again, just because you're number one on the robot game scores, and it's awesome that your robot performs incredibly on the field, but that in no way reflects what happens inside of the judging session. So I do know teams sometimes get upset saying, but we're number one on that scoreboard. Why aren't we the Champions Award winner? Well, a heck of a lot goes on behind the judging curtain. And that's just a matter of fact. And the way we try to keep that clear is if any issues do come up, we don't want issues to happen. We don't want slights to happen. This is for the students. We're all here for the students. So we will go and talk to your students if we even think something might come up. And if not, you might not like this answer, but that is where the rubrics come into play. And if the judges see something, they will give you constructive feedback on, you guys might think you have something and the judges are like, didn't have the same opinion as you. They will write it down and let you know. But the judging rubrics are really one of the only thing that leaves that judging curtain. So that is not necessarily a definitive role that we have, but basically every single volunteer at our venue, if they're wearing, our volunteer shirt, they are one of our roaming people. So if they see something that happens, coach involvement, even students being mean to each other on the same team, students being mean to each other on different teams, they will report back to me or back to whatever qualifier judge advisor is there on those sort of things. So, or even positive things. This is not to be like total Debbie Downer negative or anything like that. They'll report negative things, but they also report incredible acts of kindness and help as well. And yes, we do take those into consideration. So it's not a definitive role, but I expect every volunteer to report back to me saying, this was awesome, or this wasn't awesome, you need to know about this. That definitely has changed the way things have flown before.
I just wanted to comment that we've been doing this for a number of years and we have processes put in place. So like if one person sees something, it's not just their decision for the team to be disqualified. It goes through several levels of fact checking, investigation before it finally gets to that level where it'll affect the scores. And there is a robot game award or robot performance award. So if a team gets first or second or third in the robot game, they will get that robot performance award. But unfortunately, and this is something you can tell your kids, is teams that do really well in the robot game are spending 75, 90% of their focus on the robot and not so much on the project. And so because of the way FLL is set up, First LEGO League, it's a triangle, and we stress the core values, the project, and the robot equally. So if like a team's really good at robot, but they didn't really have a solution or even a problem, they're not really eligible for that award.
Let me quickly get through the rest of this, and then we'll keep doing Q&A. And if anybody has questions during the 10 minutes in between, keep on asking me. That's totally fine. And during lunch as well. I'll be here. Please ask me a lot of questions. Just skip through this the rest. We got Champions Award. Then the judges will break into their areas to rank area awards. So they will pick a few teams that they want to win their area awards at a qualifier. We use the consolidated award structure, so there's just one winner in every area. At the championship, it's expanded, and there's different sub-areas where they can win awards. The judges pick a couple, we throw those into judging light, and then we deliberate, if there's no collisions, so if the judges picked all separate teams to win different awards, that's great. However, each team can only win one core award. So if there's any collisions where they got, number one nominated for 2 different awards, that's when we deliberate on, which award should they get. They were obviously that awesome. If they didn't already get the Champions Award, which one should they get? So we deliberate about that. Project judges then discuss the team to be awarded the Global Innovation Award qualifier nomination, which is a very long name, and I will get into that in a future slide. Then we, of course, regroup, assign area awards. We discuss judges' award teams. Those can be awarded on anything. Oh, smack the wall. Anything, any criteria that the judges saw, they liked, anything special that stuck out. If they didn't, so core awards come first. So if we lay out all the core awards, and then somebody who didn't get a core award, that's who we pick for a judge's award. And those are just kind of made up on the fly. And then after that, we finalize those assignments. Then we move on to the advancing to championship teams. I will talk about the advancement policy right now. So there's an official new advancement policy. Michael went over this briefly, so I'm going to keep on going so we can keep on getting through this. But to be able to advance, this is for all First LEGO League now, even though our region did pilot this last year, teams must be in the top 75% of teams in Robot Game to be eligible for consideration to the championship. So that is at the start of the day. If we know that it's a 2014 qualifier, the top 75% are eligible, not guaranteed advancement, but those are the teams we are eligible to pick from to advance to the championship. And then, of course, that doesn't change Champions Award criteria. Champions Award winners still must be in the top 40% of Robot Game to be eligible, regardless of the number of the team that's advancing from the event. The only thing that this changes for our region from last year was that there was judges' choice to advance, and at every single one of our qualifiers, it was not used. We didn't even use it. There was no judges' pick. We didn't even need it. The top 75% in our region, we have a fairly large championship. Some regions have a 3-team championship or significantly smaller championship. We invite like around 60 teams. So we're already advancing a lot of teams from every qualifier. So it wasn't really the biggest deal for us. You all probably won't see any difference. We really didn't last year. And then I'll get into the Global Innovation Award. Let's just get this all up here. Okay, so I'm happy to let you all know that our Global Innovation Award regional variation model was approved by FIRST. So in our region, and this is specific to Central California, at the qualifying event, 1 to 2 teams will be chosen by project judges based off of the innovative solution criteria on the project rubric to be the qualifier nominee for the Global Innovation Award. This just means if your team had a stellar, innovative solution, the project judges will pick them to compete then at our Central California Championship to be the regional nominee for the Global Innovation Award for Central California, and then that goes on into the online national competition. So at the championship, those teams will go through a 15-minute judging session, 5-minute project presentation, 10-minute question and answer with a specific pair of judges that have a specific Global Innovation Award rubric. This is new. We did use it at our championship last year. They have not released this year's Global Innovation Award Hydrodynamics rubric. So I will post that on the website as soon as they do release that for public consumption. They don't even have it for partners yet. So as soon as they do, I'll get that out to everybody. So that will not be used at the qualifiers, but at the championship, that rubric will be used. Now, if your team gets the qualifier nomination for the Global Innovation Award, but does not advance through the standard advancement criteria to the championship, they will not be participating in the regular judging and regular event day at the championship per se. This is a separate thing. They go through a judging session just for the Global Innovation Award. Now, if you do advance normally and get the Global Innovation Award, you will have 4 judging sessions, one being that 15-minute one. We do take that into consideration. Michael works tirelessly on making every team's schedule so that that all works out. So don't worry about anything overlapping, causing issues with your robot game or your other judging sessions. That will not affect you at all. Also, the Global Innovation Award judging session has no impact on the champions and the rest of regular judging deliberations. These are 2 completely separate judging sessions and deliberation processes. So the 2 judges, 2 to 4 judges who do Global Innovation Award will have no contact with the rest of the judges at the championship. They deliberate by themselves. They decide the Global Innovation Award regional nominee. And this nominee can still win other awards here. It doesn't disqualify you by any means. They don't touch. You just get an extra award. Ooh, awesome. Question and answer time. I know I just vomited a lot of information at everybody, and I know it was a lot, trust me. But please, if anybody has questions right now, they help everybody else. Is there anything I didn't cover? Yes? If I can answer it, sure. Yes, so officially, teams only have one chance. So at a single level, so like qualifier, championship, World Festival, so Central California Championship, World Festival, you can only attend one event at each level. We make it easy because, well, yes, we do have our 5 to 6 qualifiers. You can only advance to the championship through one. Basically, everybody just attends one. You get to pick whichever one you want. And then if you advance to the championship, well, we only have one Central California Championship, so you attend that one, and then you can go on. But yes, you only go to one event. However, you could go to the scrimmage and an official qualifying event. The scrimmage has no bearing on advancement, no bearing on awards. We do as many staff members as we can get out to the qualifier hosted by Buchanan's robotics team. We do try to go out and go to it and staff it and give you all feedback. But it's not like an official qualifying event. No, you cannot. You can only officially advance from one, and I'm not sure if it's hard-coded into the system, Stephen. You would know that better than me. It is hard-coded into the system that you can only attend one qualifier. We have so many teams in the region that we don't have the capacity to allow any more than that.
You said we could advance through one, so if they attended a qualifier and did not advance, is it an option to attend another qualifier?
You're allowed to attend more than one event as observers, and it's a good opportunity for your kids to see what an event is like, especially if you're registered for one of the later ones. But you can only participate, run robot game, judge at one event.
And we just don't have the capacity to allow teams to attend more than one event, even just for practice. So even not for official advancement. Numbers are looking really good, and we are really, we have a fair amount of teams this season, and we just don't have enough to where you can attend more than one, unless it's a scrimmage. Anybody else? Please, anything. We have a lot of rookie coaches, and the questions help everybody. Anything about advancement, judging? I know deliberation kind of gets a little... Actually, what I do highly recommend to everybody is if you can spare the time, I recommend you go through the judge training and judge. You could judge at a qualifier this year. I don't mind, as long as it's not the qualifier that your team attends. You cannot judge at the qualifier your team's attending. If it's a different qualifier, you can volunteer to judge, and you get to be behind the curtain, see what goes down, see what the judges are looking for, take the training, and know exactly what it's like to sit in that seat as a judge, and that's only going to help your team. So I highly recommend that if you guys want any tips. Oh, yes, one last thing, that's good. Along with Global Innovation Award, the Robot Performance Award is not a core award. So you can get any of the core awards and still get the Robot Performance Award. That doesn't knock you out of consideration for anything. That would just, again, be like an add-on for even if it's a champion or if it's anybody else. So that doesn't disqualify you. Yeah, so it changes between qualifier and championship, and if the session's over, is the session over? What time is it? Technically it's over, so if you guys want to stand up and do anything else and leave, you totally can. Thank you so much for attending. So thank you so much, but the core awards at a qualifier, we just have a core values award, a robot design award, a project award. Those would be considered core awards. The champions award is a core award. You can't win judges awards along with those. But at the championship, there's a lot more. There's 3 core awards for every type of judging session at the championship. And for the life of me, I'm not going to be able to just say them in the microphone right now, but they are all online. Come up and ask me questions if you have any more, or if you think of any during lunch.